We're back. Welcome to Visibility Vixen, episode 29.
Welcome to the Visibility Vixen podcast, where we create space to grow our brand with intention and clarity, one episode at a time. Join us as we explore the many aspects of entrepreneurship, start loving the journey instead of the destination, and begin building a legacy that lasts. Here's your host, Michelle Lewis.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Visibility Vixen. I am bringing you another family circle episode. Woo, woo, woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
I know that you guys have really enjoyed the time that you've spent with my parents and my husband, and so we were finally able to get everyone back in one room at one time with my snowball handy dandy microphone. And so we're going to be chatting and kind of catching up about what's been going on in our lives. I know that the last time we talked, I think we were in Disneyland and we were celebrating my birthday, and we were talking a lot about intention, about how to not feel like an imposter, especially in, as an entrepreneur and all these other things. So it's kind of interesting to be talking now about what has transpired over the last 4 months. Has it been 4 months?
Well, it's been since June. It's been 6.
6 months. Holy smokes. Yeah, so it's been a while. So let's start with Mom. You've had your birthday, first of all, is tomorrow.
Yes, what a way to celebrate it.
So you have had a very exciting happening. So why don't you and Dad talk about that?
Woo! Well, when a cautionary note to those who decide to no longer live in the past, but live in the present and the future, and to work on, as they say, the quantum field of possibilities. Arthur and I have been working the last month in learning self-publishing, which I would have to say 100% goes to Arthur because he has learned to become a publisher. And we took out a novel I wrote almost 10 years ago called A Nativity Christmas and fine-tuned it, and he learned how to publish it, and it's now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Kindle and soon to be the Nook, I think, in a couple months. And it's been a really interesting experience. We all came from the book signing last night. And I was noticing as I was signing books that I felt that I was like hovering over myself. And I think it's because it's when your future intent meets the present moment and you feel very lifted. Mm-hmm. And it's a powerful reminder to not settle in the past and not keep your thoughts in the past, because all you're doing then is recreating the same angst, the same hurt feelings, the limitations, the self recriminations, or the voices in your head that maybe came from your parents or your siblings or your in-laws or whatever it might be. And so then you become a reflection of that. Mm-hmm. I was thinking as I was talking to the ladies and the guys last night that how many of them were sitting there feeling that way, because I used to feel that way. Mm-hmm. And how do you take that and turn that corner? Well, it has to first just start with the decision that you don't like where you're at, and then to want to change that, because there's some people that don't want to change. Mm-hmm. They're perfectly happy doing what they're doing or not doing anything. Mm-hmm. They're perfectly happy that way. So those aren't the people that we're really talking to. We're talking to the people who want to change things in their lives.
Well, and I have an interesting perspective because I have been working on the sales page for Life Reboot. So I've been looking through your comments through the course and your testimonial, where you were still at the point of, do other people's opinions, words, mm-hmm. past, define me, or do they not? So it's really cool to see that, because I think you took that course, a year and a half ago?
When you first released it.
Right. And so starting that journey to now finally get to the point of being able to step out in your visibility and to step out with your message and your truth. And it's really, really hard to do that.
You have to get so sick of yourself. You really do, because you're on the outside looking in. You have your nose pressed up against the window and you're looking over there at the perfect whatever that you want. I always thought I could be a great fill in the blank. And so you're going to spend, well, if you've already spent 30 years or 20 years or how many years being that way, you're guaranteed you're going to spend the rest of your life that way. That is exactly what you'll do for the rest of your life.
But there's safety in that.
But there's huge
I could
safety.
have been this, but I was blah, blah, blah.
Because you never have to prove.
I've done that. I've had, work stolen. I've had my head photoshopped on a bikini model on the cover of a DVD. I've had every shame and humiliation that would make you want to just hide under your bed and go, well, I can't do it because look at all the ways that I've been taken advantage of, the ways I've been victimized, poor me, and I had this upbringing or this past or blah, blah, blah. But we've all had something.
So what do you tell somebody though? Then what do you tell the person that is looking out and is sick of living their life so securely and in a certain pattern? What do you tell them to break it? Or what causes that person to break it?
I think, I can only speak for myself, but I think, to quote Joe Dispenza here, you have to do the work. The work that he had to do to get from being several months lying flat on his stomach and crippled, can't move. He was faced with that surgery or not. He was the one that decided no to the surgery, and he was the one that decided that he would try to do whatever he could to change his mindset from, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in a wheelchair, I'll have to give up my practice, blah, 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 to finding out, letting the body heal itself. The body is so intuitive, etc. But it takes work every day, and that's the second part. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the second part. That's what I did. I read voraciously. I took all kinds of quizzes. I did all kinds of studies, from Bible studies to quantum theory stuff to meditation stuff to whatever. And Arthur, I'm bringing you in on this, you and I decided we did not want to keep recreating the past.
I've always found what's effective for me to snap myself out is to slap myself in front of the mirror a couple of times.
Or have somebody else do it.
Or have somebody else do it.
I'll always be there for you.
Just don't do it at random. Out the shopping mall. Oh, my mother, my brother, my sister.
Well,
anyway,
I think to simplify that even further, to use that illustration of pressing your face up against that glass, I would say step back and realize that you're not in front of a window, you're in front of a door. Mm-hmm. And the choice that you can do is just to turn that handle and step forward. It can be as simple as you're walking down the street listening to this podcast, or you're at the gym, or you're in the shower, be careful, or you're wherever, and you just simply take one step to your left and say to yourself, I'm on a different path. The subconscious recognizes that. It can literally be that simple. And of course you have to put in the work. You have to put the day-to-day dedication of being in your meditations, expanding your mind. That's why I designed Life Reboot, to help with this process. But it will happen, and you don't have to have it perfect every day. None of us here have it perfect. We have our days where we're cleansing or detoxing, or we're in a huge old pattern. I worked myself up into a frenzy yesterday over literally nothing. Nothing was due. My whole team was happy and doing their thing. Everything was good at home, all of that. But my body is so used to that chemical addiction of anxiety that it kicked up huge, and it took me all day to get out of that pattern.
You've got your old self and the new future self, and you have things during the day that will trigger you back to your old self. And then the freedom in that is that you start to recognize it sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner. Oh, I know what's going on, because there's those chemical addictions to those past emotional things, and I think any of us would have said, that's poppycock. There's nothing
poppycock.
There's nothing true about that, but it is true.
Well, the good thing about that, though, is that eventually working on yourself and changing your patterns is then your addictions become into being more creative, or doing the things that you had put off, or you've been watching yourself do but haven't been doing them.
Yeah.
So once you finally make that leap, that's what you start to addict, or that's what your body starts to crave. So
have you felt that transformation with the work that you've been doing in the past year?
I think so. I think, for me, a lot of what I was wanting to do is change kind of how I had my outlook on my job, and how that was like the one of the big things right away. And I think that through the different, waking up and telling myself, today I'm going to choose joy, and today I'm going to look at all the positive things and everything, I've been able to kind of, I've definitely felt a difference in that. And then in just my personal life, there's been some things that I've definitely wanted to change. And I think the last month and a half has been the largest changes has occurred, and it's been good. It's I feel totally different now than you think back on it too. This is the other thing. You think back on it, it's like, whoa, I can't believe that I felt that way, or that I experienced this emotion, or had this
or reaction
or whatever, and to now think about that person with who you are now is totally foreign, and it's very interesting.
I can so relate to that, because I used to be a raging beast. I was in pain all the time, so thank goodness I had supportive parents who carried me through a lot of that. But I really had to get so sick of how ugly I was inside, and go, I'm tired of being holed up in bed. I'm tired of being a victim to everyone and everything. What if I started taking back my power? And I was talking to a woman on a podcast today, and we were talking about how you can get so easily overwhelmed with the enormity of your business, your brand, whatever, that you get caught up in that avalanche because it takes over. So how intentional you have to be that, no, I'm the spearhead of my life and my business, my relationships, all of that, they follow me. I'm the train. I'm not jumping onto other people's train. I am the train, and therefore the business follows, and the relationships follow, and the creativity follows, because otherwise you get into this chronic state of overwhelm. And I think that's what a lot of creatives, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, get stuck in, is constantly comparing themselves. What am I going to do? I can't afford this. How do I put this in place? And they're so overwhelmed that it just breeds complete atrophy.
Well, as you get to I want to ask Arthur a question in a second, but as you get to that better space, you also realize how you failed in past ways, because you were reacting in the old self, like Nathan said. And so you see why people had problems with you. You see why people took offense and all that. And you try your best to rectify all that as much as they will allow that, or everybody can embrace that forgiveness and move on into great things. And I think that's a really important part of healing. This reminded me, Arthur, when you've finished Pretty Little Liars, your 7th year and season, etc., and how you changed from having to just kind of have the world on your shoulders with the job of past jobs, etc., to being a light on the set, and how people reacted to you differently because you embodied hope and change for them.
Well, it just takes a while to learn that happiness is an acquired habit. It has to be practiced on a daily basis. And you have to start your day out with that and choose happiness, choose joy. This doesn't always work. I mean, things happen during the day, and particularly in the entertainment business, where there's a lot of pressure and long hours. You get tired, you get grouchy. But if you wake up and you start out with your intention of saying, I'm going to be happy. I think one of the best examples is there was a billionaire who he's at the pinnacle of his investment empire, and he'd made it to the top of the mountain, and the reporter asked him, he says, if you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing, what would it be? And he said, I would go tell myself, when you make it to the top of the mountain, there's nothing there.
Oh, wow.
It's all about the climb up the mountain, the journey every day.
Whoa.
So that was pretty heavy.
That's sobering.
Yeah. And so every day, listen, we're all going to have lack, we're all going to have relationship problems, but you have to put yourself in your mindset that you're not going to let all that drag you down, because that'll just take you into old past patterns. your subconscious will bring up all the bad things that have ever happened to you in your life, and you'll be living in the past, not in the present. And you can tell when people aren't present. You know, you're looking at their eyes are backwards and they're someplace else. And so, listen, during the day, I mean, if you can go up and encourage somebody, make them laugh and get them out of themselves, because our minds are artifacts of the past. If you don't tell your mind what to think, it will take you back into your past and says, oh, you're not thinking of anything right now. Hey, do you remember 1978 when you had that terrible wreck? And oh, you had and all of a sudden you start feeling terrible, and it'll start exhibiting the physical symptoms of some bad trauma you had in the past. So if you don't instruct your mind, if you don't instruct your mind, all right, we're gonna have joy today. We're gonna have a good time. No matter what happens, we're gonna keep a positive perspective. And when you, in the way the quantum field is, when you put an intention out there, and you put it with an elevated emotion, which is because our thoughts are electrical and our emotions are magnetic. We're electromagnetic beings, and we're quantumly entangled with everybody and everything. So if you put out the positive intention, I'm going to have a great day, I'm going to be a positive influence to those around me, and you put that out there, then that spreads. People start to feel it and they go, oh, you know, things feel a little different today, right? So if you can get everybody to start thinking positive, right? So, you know, a lot of times you can bring your team together and say, hey, here's what we're going to accomplish today. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. You know, we're going to get it done quickly, efficiently. We're going to get out of here early. We're going to have fun doing it. Everybody go, hey, did you hear that? We're going to have fun today. Hey, let's get going. Let's get this stuff done. You know.
And that's why you were rapping in 10 hours.
Yeah. So if you get, and you have to have a plan to go in with.
Sure, of course.
But then if you get everybody on the plan and everybody can have fun and laugh while they're doing it, then it gets rid of all that negative energy and everybody has fun doing it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but that requires practice and patience, and you have to do it on a regular basis. And you also have to create space for yourself to be creative. Your creative mind is your frontal lobe, right? And so that's where you have to take the time to shut your mind body down. It wants you to flit around like a fly from this to that to this to that, and say, okay, quiet. We're gonna do a little concentrating here, calm the body down, and go into your creative space so you can be creative, and you can and give your creative side a chance to come out. That may give you your next invention. It may give you your next book. You know. So that's why we took Tawny's book and we said, you know, a lot of letters go out to publishers. It's so hard to get published. So, well, there's got to be avenues out there we can do. So you can take your book, you put it on as a Kindle ebook, and Amazon has what they call, I love the title of this, Create Space, where you go and you format and you make your own cover and you publish your own book, and it's publishing on demand. So people can get a hardback copy, they can download it on their Kindle. So, you know, no matter what your product is, or maybe, listen, it could be an 85-year-old woman who just wants to tell her family history. She types it up. You create a book cover for nothing. You know, Photoshop. You create your own book cover, or go to Canvas and create your own book cover. But it doesn't cost you anything to create a Kindle ebook or to publish your book, and so you can create that. And so, listen, even an 85-year-old woman puts together a family history, and now it's in a book. She gives us, and if it's an interesting history, guess what? People start buying the book, the word gets out there. But what a great thing. I mean, you know, generations will have, wow, I had no idea, you know, Grandma went to that back in the early 1900s. So everybody has something. You have to continue to be creative to evolve. If you don't, you stagnate, and you listen, we're all start deteriorating a little bit at a time, but what I found, when you go into creative space and you can maintain that creative drive moving forward, then it keeps your mind active and it propels you into the future that you're intending and that you want. So you're not a victim of circumstances, you're a proactive creator.
There's a lot of quotes in everything he said that I feel like I could just Instagram out all day long. Well, I think that you're absolutely right, and I think that we have to stop looking at time as linear.
That's correct.
You know, time moves more like a circular wave. And a perfect example of that is you take my passport photo from when we were going to go to Italy and when I was sick and all of that, and you take my driver's license photo now, and now looks younger than when I was 14. How is that possible? I'm 31.
Photoshop.
So the only reason is because cells can regenerate.
Right.
We can change, but everything follows the mind. And I think it's so important to find that creative space, to have that morning routine, to open yourself up. Like Mom, she gets a distinct feeling like on the top of her head when she's supposed to write. You know, I get this little like butterfly thing that happens in my chest when I know a really great idea is coming. So we all have different ways that we're communicated with when we're supposed to create something.
It also helps I lock her in a motorhome till she gets 3 chapters written as a publisher.
Which did happen just recently.
I'm just going to stick food in the door to get that 3rd chapter written.
We'll call it creative threatening.
Back to what you were saying about regenerating. Most people will go, well, you know, who are these people to say something like that? I just want to bring out 2 words for people. It's called worry lines. Worry lines happen on a person's face who worries a lot. You cannot dispute that. It could happen to you, or you see it in a family member or somebody you work with, etc. The state of your emotional being dictates itself eventually into your physical being. So worry lines are an example of that, and they can be reversed.
Yes.
You just have to do the work. And I don't mean you can go get plastic surgery or do whatever you want, but
please don't.
It's so much easier to just look at why you're worrying so much. And change your heart about it. Do some work on that.
Get some happy lines, I call them.
Yeah, exactly. Way different.
Well, it's true. Nathan and I were just talking the other night about the how awful my cystic acne used to be, how disfiguring it was, and that, from all the dermatologists, is not curable.
Right.
You can go on Accutane or whatever and it'll keep it at bay, but it's not curable. But, you know, the dedication, the daily correct herbs, correct mindset, all of those different healing things, and I don't have them anymore.
Right.
Everything is fixable. Everything's reversible. Everything is possible. It's like Dad talking about as a child, thinking of all these ideas that are only now starting to be invented. I mean, why is that? As children, I think it's because we don't see limits yet.
Yeah.
We're not taught the structures of reality.
We haven't been put in a box yet.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and what is reality?
Right.
You know, it's what we create, and most realities are based on the past.
I like to be so far
Or somebody's
out.
somebody's perception of you that you've gone, oh, that must be true. Well, it could totally be untrue because that person's mad at you, so they're going to say all these negative things. So, go ahead.
I like to be so far on the outside of the envelope, my feet are barely touching the gluey part.
That's very visual.
So many people are just they're afraid, you know,
of course,
to go out of the box because that's not the normal thing, or oh, it's someone else will come up with it, or oh, you know, why do I have to be that person? And they just won't do it. And you know, to publish your first book is amazing, and you're never too old, you're never too young to do any of this stuff.
No, and it could not be a book, it could be an invention, it could be a online business, it could be coming up with a camera that nobody has ever seen on set before, it could be anything.
It's so easy. It's like when we were all in film, whenever we'd go to church or go out to eat or see friends, what was the one thing that always happened? I have this great idea, right?
Would you write it for me?
Yeah. Would you take this for me? And it's like, that's what most people do. They have the idea, but they never put in the work to bring it into physical reality. But that's part of the creative process. That's why you don't, stay pregnant for 9 months and then it disappears. You give birth to the child.
It's a process.
It's part of the process.
But we've all been where we said, I have a great idea. I wish somebody would do something with this. And because you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to put the time and energy into it. We've all been there, so we know that. And so by us addressing this isn't because we're saying, gee, why aren't you all doing this? No. We're saying, let us help you because we've been there too, and this is what we have found that works for us.
And look how far we've come in 6 months. So we're like the living testament to doing the work and what can happen. Nathan's on a news show. You've published your first book. Dad's working on a movie, getting it prepped, and I've brought on VAs. Like, stuff is happening, and it's not an ego thing at all. It's just, hey, look what happens when you put in the time and the intention and the work. Your reality does change, and it starts to change to be in accordance with what you want it to be.
And I think along with everything that we're saying, what needs to be said is, what is the ultimate goal though? Your goal has got to include touching and helping people in some way or another. So every time that I write something, and you could go down the line here at the table, it's to cause an effect of helping ease misery in the world, helping create bounty in some way or another, helping somebody get past their emotional scars so they can be great in whatever it is that they're going to do. So with that constantly in mind, it's really the gas in the engine that keeps you moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We've really enjoyed sitting around and chatting and having you here with us. And we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. None of this Happy Holidays crap. No December pine here. I've got a beautiful Christmas tree. And we want to just wish you a beautiful, beautiful Christmas with your family and your friends. Celebrate the joy of the season. Know that you are a creator, and we cannot wait to see what you create in the new year. We'll see you next time.
God bless.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for listening in today to the Visibility Vixen podcast. Subscribe now and share with a fellow Vixen who wants to start building their visibility. For more fire in your life and brand, visit visibilityvixen.com.